pistol whip is a transcendental experience. The title says it all. VR as a medium is still in its infancy. However, unlike human infancy, which lasts for only a few years, VR has been in various iterations of infancy for decades. From the very earliest commercial arcade or training experience, to the failed Nintendo Virtual Boy, to the original Oculus Rift, to where we are today. Oh dear lord, not that. There we go. I guess that makes VR a hobbit, not a human. I seriously wonder how many people are going to get that reference. I'm drawn to VR for the same reasons that I've always been drawn to games like Super Smash Bros., while simultaneously shying away from regular fighting games like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. One word: immersion. Hear me out for a second. In most fighting games, you execute a series of button presses and your character carries out moves which are several degrees removed from said button presses. For example, special attacks or combo attacks. On the other hand, in Smash Bros., for the most part, there are no combos other than the ones you create from basic moves. Just take Link, for example. I'm a Link one trick. And yeah, you just chain together basic attacks and create combos out of that. I liken this to VR because in most VR games, your movements are translated faithfully from the real world into the virtual world, wherein they can accomplish anything the mind of the game designer can come up with. Pistol Whip from developer Cloudhead Games is one of my favorite VR experiences by far. From the way the gameplay syncs with the music, to the choice of the tracks itself, which I agree may not be everyone's cup of tea, to the satisfaction of mowing down hordes of faceless enemies while simultaneously dodging their shots, all ideally in sync with the music. Watching the gameplay feels like watching a crazy mix of The Matrix, Equilibrium, and John Wick. Playing it, on the other hand, feels like... Let me say up front that it isn't perfect. There are things which the developer could learn from other VR devs that would massively improve the experience and replayability. First and foremost among which is the ability to mod the game and create your own maps, similar to the way Beat Saber has a mapping tool, and mod support, which the devs conveniently break with every patch, which they seem to roll out for the tiniest things. I swear they do this on purpose. This alone would make the game infinitely replayable. I can imagine that a map-making tool probably wouldn't be as simple to implement as Beat Saber because rather than chopping blocks and dodging walls in an otherwise empty environment, the environments in Pistol Whip are considerably more complex and full of geometry, life, and character. The gameplay loop is straightforward and highly satisfying. Pick a gun, modify the gun to your desire. There are some funky modifications here. Select your game modifiers, select your level and difficulty, and then, well, I'll let the game speak for itself.
You wiped my memories? It's not possible. Why are you doing this?
Each ship to heed our transmission failed to produce viable data until yours. We eradicated life from this world in search of you.
I don't understand. You put a gun in my leg!
Your augments were essential to the cycle's continued success. Your human heart, brain, and volition remain intact. Together, we can conquer death and eclipse humanity.
I'm not you. Not yet. Keeping me alive was your last mistake.
Then I'll kill you, myself.
It's essentially an on-rails shooter. This style of movement works perfectly because it allows you to focus more on landing the perfect shot and dodging in time to the music than having to consistently pick up a direction to move in, and it can result in gameplay which makes you feel like you've successfully transcended both space and time. There are three basic enemy types. You have your standard cannon fodder, which dies in one hit, middle management, which takes a couple of shots to down, and space cowboys, which eat bullets like I eat sushi. Some maps throw additional enemies at you, such as Rainbow Six Guy, non-space cowboy, turrets, and even bosses. Landing headshots in sync to the beat makes you feel like a total badass, which gets you more points. Enemies occasionally get right up in your face, which is where the game gets its name because the only appropriate reaction is to pistol whip them back into the Dark Ages, for which you're awarded the maximum number of points for a kill shot, 200 gen. I acknowledge that this is a highly subjective take, but I love the music selection and styles. Would I prefer to be able to bring my own favorites into the game via mapping? Of course. But in spite of that not being an option, the game is good enough that I wouldn't kick it out of bed for farting or anything. The developer is also highly active and has been adding features and new levels since they released the game back before the world went to shit. November 2019. How I miss you. Nostalgia aside, since release, Cloudhead Games has added new maps regularly, some of which are combined into campaigns, which are essentially a set of maps that progress you along a short story. Each map gives you a different excuse to blow away endless waves of enemies, and occasionally even throws a boss or two your way to mix things up. And they generally come to some satisfying conclusion where you down the big boss and accomplish something awesome. Additionally, after you're finished with the campaigns, you can play the maps on regular mode and modify your approach in crazy ways using those modifiers I spoke about earlier. This adds considerably to the replay value in lieu of mapping extensions or mods. For example, in this sequence I'm playing with 5 different modifiers. Scavenger, which means my weapons don't reload unless I successfully land a pistol whip. Disorder mixes up the enemy types. Heavies makes it so that the enemies take more than one shot to kill. Big Head, self-explanatory. And Hell, well, you see right here what Hell means. It's the very definition of a bullet hell. Hell of a workout if I do say so myself. The last thing I want to talk about here are the leaderboards. So it's one of the things that keeps the game replayable. There are individual leaderboards for each modifier and for each combination of modifiers and each level, which leads to a massive number of potential leaderboards. There are leaderboards which have never even been attempted because that combination of weapons plus that level has never even, been seen. And then the more common leaderboards, if you actually want to compete against people, you'll play levels with common modifiers or no modifiers at all. For example, here's a leaderboard for Bullet Train with a classic loadout that is a single pistol and no modifiers. As you can see, there are a ton of scores up there because it's just a common way to play that level. Finding new sets of modifiers and thus new leaderboards is almost like finding new planets in No Man's Sky. It would probably take you a hell of a long time to exhaust the available supply. Between Pistol Whip, Beat Saber, Blade and Sorcery, Thrill of the Fight, Super Hot, and Pavlov VR, I think our old friend Oppenheimer said it best.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
But seriously, VR is amazing, Pistol Whip is amazinger, and I highly recommend it to anyone who wants to walk a mile in John Wick's shoes without actually having to walk a mile. And that's going to be it for me, boys and girls. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy this type of content, and don't forget to hit that bell notification on your way out. Have a wonderful day wherever you are. Razor Fiend, signing out.
Say no, see